Lucky Boys Podcast.
Oh, he used to be my friend. Now he's not my friend.
That too.
You know, I used to
work
with
Then you
him.
find out who your real friends are, right?
That's true. Going through a crisis like that, yeah.
And it's not who's around you when your life is going great and you're super happy.
Yeah, you're down on your chips and
that's true.
Down and out.
All right, for you guys hopping in now, we have Leo back again. Fashionable as always. Y'all can't see his sneakers, but actually, I gotta give you guys a shot of his sneakers real quick.
Let's give one a shot.
We do a cutaway, you know.
Yeah.
I'm winning these, but then these.
What do you got? What do you got? Describe your shoes right now.
Today, just getting comfy. I got the Off-White Jordan 2. This is one of the last models that came out that Virgil Abloh designed.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So that was this is a special one. And it's cool because, you know, he's really pushed the envelope in sneaker design. So this one, the design was like, he took like a vintage Jordan 2 that like crumbled up at the bottom because a lot of the old sneakers crumbled up. But he made it into this new gel form. So it's like, it has that crumbled look, but it's made brand new. And then he also put like the Michael Jordan signature, like how if he signed someone's sneakers. So it's like, he has fun with these sneakers. And I think that's one of the big things, what his success was.
And he was one of the major fashion designers that came up, had a big influence in the industry, hip hop and...
Yeah. I mean, he really...
And he passed away.
Yeah. So he passed away unexpectedly last year, I think less than a year ago. But what's crazy was that like, he is really one of the designer of our time. If you really understand his background story, which the more I got into it, I really appreciated his story. Like he grew up outside of like Chicago, small town, in like, you know, not a good income area, but like he went to school for architecture, but he always loved street style and design. And long story short, he was just like, screw it, I'm gonna start my own like fashion brand. So he just made his own like t-shirts, printing it on. But then like, because in that small crowd in Chicago, he was friends with like Kanye and these guys.
I remember, wasn't he Kanye's protege?
Yeah, like he was like his stylist, like he made his merch. So they all kind of came up together. So as Kanye got bigger, he was the guy that designed his merch, and he also started his own brand. And then long story short, he started Off-White, and Off-White took off in streetwear. And then that's how it led to his collaboration with Nike, which Nike really gave him creative control to go crazy on the Jordans, which Jordans and Nike are very original, vintage. Like those are like the babies.
That's pretty much
Nike.
Unheard of.
Yeah, and he basically went full deconstructed, took the sneaker apart and made it something brand new, which is something that the brand needed because they've been making the same Jordans the past 20 years.
Just in different colors.
Yeah. But he did the
or
whole...
same colors.
He did the whole packaging thing where it looked like a prototype. It was made to look like a sample. And it's like, okay, so out of the box, so different. So that's what... And then from what he did with Off-White and Nike, he became the first black designer for Louis Vuitton.
And that's the job that Kanye wanted, right?
Yeah, and that also kind of went back like a full circle thing.
Then it's kind of like, oh man, where the student became the master. Yeah. And it's like, wait, what are you doing here?
So it's just such a crazy story from like essentially low income ghetto to literally becoming the fashion director of the most prestigious brand in the world.
That's one hell of a success story.
But also having that spotlight on minorities and talking about black people and talking about how they were perceived and elevating the image of a whole race and community to the level of Louis Vuitton. And like, to me as an immigrant, as another minority looking from the outside, it's like, that's inspiring as hell to be able to do that, to have that journey and to do that in such a short period of life, to accomplish that much in that period of time. It's like,
here's the thing though, a lot of people, just normal people in the regular world like me and Norm, may not understand certain types of fashion. We may look at it as weird or very different, right? I mean, you and I kind of touched on this earlier when I came in here. Like for example, the Off-White brand, a lot of the clothing, especially the garments, some people purposely leave the tags out.
Yeah.
And I told you the story where I was with this model. We're hanging out. We went to dinner. We went to a few parties, and she had to hanging out her dress.
Right.
And we were going in places where it wasn't high fashion, right? And but we were at the end of the night. We were heading to some show, so where other people would know. But there were people coming up to her, whispering in her ear, saying, "Hey, excuse me, you have your tag out there." So they're thinking that she's about to return this the next day. Here's the crazy part: we go to the high fashion event. Other people are still coming up to her, saying, "Hey, we have this tag out."
But I think that's like the beauty of fashion. You have all your normal basic essentials. Like fashion over time has really recycled. Like it's the same for men's fashion is really the same thing. Like this. The suits, the coats, the jackets. It's been the same thing. There hasn't really been a new jacket, like denim jacket, leather jacket.
The classic look.
But what designers have to do then is to make something different, to have that little extra touch, to have that little thing that makes you talk about it, as big or little as a little hang tag. And I think that's the beauty of what he did is he took something super simple as a hang tag or writing things on, having instructions on a piece or having like a punch hole on a jacket. And so that was enough to make it different.
And having a punch hole, I mean, my mom was a seamstress.
Yeah.
Right. And having a punch hole basically signifies that it's a sample wear.
Right.
So that became fashionable.
That's what he did to make it different. Because I think in a way too is imagine us on the outside of fashion, right? Like we never see samples. So for them, a designer, they probably see samples all the time. And they're like, well, why don't we make this the look? And I think that's very refreshing. I think that's where fashion is like, okay, you always have your essentials. And then you have things that are like, this is different, this is refreshing. And you have the crowd, the more fashionable crowd, they always chase something that makes them different.
How does a designer like that end up making it cool though? Do they have an influencer kind of go, hey, like for example, if I made a piece, right, that was, let's say I decided to make half this sleeve ripped where you could see my armpit,
yeah,
right, but it's still attached,
right,
but it's only like 2/3 of it is sewn together, the other one's just ripped. It looked like it ripped, and then I wanted to get paint splatter and throw it on the chest, right, and I said, hey, Kanye, rock this, and Kanye rock it. Everyone thinks it's cool, or can I just somehow put that on a shelf somehow and make it cool?
I think this day and age is all about discovery. It's all about finding these pieces. If you put it on a shelf, like, what's the chance that someone's gonna see it? What's the chance that someone will know how to wear it? Especially for like outside of the main, like big, high fashion crowd. So that's why all these years of influencers and celebrities, that is the big draw. Because you're like, wait, Kanye, what the hell is Kanye wearing? You already got them talking. And then if you see more and more people wear it, then you're like, wait a minute, like, all right, like I can see this. I can see them rocking it. Or like, yo, Harry Styles pulled it off. Or like, Dua Lipa is wearing this. And you're like, all right, like if I want to go for that look, at least you have something like a reference. If you put on a ridiculous outfit and you're like, dude, what are you wearing? Like, well, Harry Styles wore this last week and it's dope. Or like this celebrity wore it in the award shows, there's a reference to it and you can say that's a costume or whatever. But I think that's why celebrities, when they rock things, is so outrageous, but it's part of like the designer's like vision.
Do they wear it for shock value?
100%. That's part of it.
If in that world, in that entertainment world, if no one's talking about you, you should be concerned.
Right. That's like a whole thing about like red carpet outfits as well, right? Like chances are if you play the safe, no one's talking about it. You're not going to be featured. Like, there's so many celebrities that go to these kind of events. And so like to even have a list of like the top 25, dress and whatever, it's a big deal.
When you go to these events, do you see these celebrities kind of dressed outrageously, or are they, for a movie premiere, they're most likely just gonna fall in line, nothing too crazy, right?
Yeah.
But for other stuff,
the fashion week, people go a little crazy. But the red premiere, the red carpet premieres are cool. They don't go too crazy. I think they still kind of want to be in line with the movie. So like one of the big ones that I went to recently was for the Batman, and that was super cool just because that was one of the few movie premieres that came back to New York since COVID. And so it's really cool to have them do like a big thing in Lincoln Center. Like it was a giant red carpet all around. I very luckily did my little red carpet walk, and then like the perfect timing, Robert Pattinson walked up, and it was just so cool to see him in public, in person. But like his fashion was cool. It was very much like Bruce Wayne vibes on that carpet. So it all varies. But,
so he was in character during the red carpet.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. Like he was in like all black suit, black big like peacoat.
I like that.
Yeah.
I really like that. If I go to a red carpet event for Batman and my man comes in looking like Bruce Wayne, carrying himself like Bruce Wayne, like the character and not who he is in real life, I think that's kind of cool.
Yeah, I think that's the fun part about, like, there's like the red carpet for like award shows, which is just fancy, but then there's like the movie premiere, say Simu on the Shang-Chi one, like he was wearing Asian designer stuff. So there's a story when you're dressing up for these kind of events, especially if it's your own movie, and you should.
You know, I bet that's almost like art, right?
It really is.
Layers to it, and I think that goes overlooked for a lot of people or underappreciated.
Yeah, and so that's why that's where, like, you know, fashion is such a big statement. Like what you put on can say so much. So his premiere, I remember he wore like an Asian designer full suit, and he was wearing like a chain that was made by Ben Baller, so another Asian guy, you know. So and that is very important. If you have that special moment to promote a movie that's, you know, about Asian Americans, and you don't wear Asian, that's almost like,
I think
you
I saw
kind of missed the point.
Yeah, I think I saw a photo, and this is outside looking in.
Yeah.
And he was wearing a red suit, right? A red suit.
That's one of them, yeah.
And then he stood out like from the rest of everyone.
Exactly.
He just stood out. He glowed, and then like red represents like good luck and in Chinese culture. So I think he was trying to tell a story without actually saying a word during that premiere.
And you have to stand out on these things, especially, you know, I'm imagining in his shoe as one of the few Asian actors ever in these kind of rooms. Like what you wear, you stand out right away without even speaking a word.
Imagine how you would feel wearing a fucking red suit. You know, like it could go one of two ways, right? You can kind of feel like, oh man, what the heck? Or you can feel super powerful, right? You just walk in a room, you feel like, yo, I am the man here. I am the bomb. Like it's almost equivalent to how a woman would feel walking in with the sexy red dress.
Yeah. How's that?
Yeah.
Right. The way you describe it, I didn't see him with the red suit.
Yeah.
But the way you're describing it, it sounds like you said he's glowing.
Oh yeah.
You said he walked in and he was just stood out. The room almost like just kind of paused, right? And that's the visualization that I'm drawing here. It's almost like a woman coming in with a beautiful red dress that kind of everyone just stopped and the music paused. Everyone's watching her go down the stairs, you know, in this grand concourse.
I'll give you a better visual. So that red suit he wore, this is the most recent one. It was with Versace. So that's a big deal too, because now you're talking about a global brand with an Asian actor. And I love that because, like, at first, like, Simu did all the Asian designer stuff, but now it's like, no, an Asian person can also rock a Versace suit. And it was like a bright red suit, and it really stood out. And then at the after party, he took off his shirt. So it was like a suit, but without a top. And so it was just like, it had that moment that we needed in fashion for Asian representation.
I like that because Asian fashion is usually known just very, either they're not fashionable or they're very fashionable, but just clean, safe. Right. Some of the mainstays, like you said, they're in a suit or they're just polished, their clothes are fitted, and that's fine.
Usually very minimal.
When you rock a red suit and you pull it off with no shirt underneath, at the right,
just some pecs.
You know, you're not going to go into work like that, folks.
Yeah.
But at the right, or date, not likely, depends. But if you're going to the right venue,
exactly,
and you pull it off just right. And especially with all these cameras there, I love that. And what is it also saying to people? I mean, fashion in general, but what is that saying to people without saying a word, right? And then we pull it off. That hey, we're in here.
Yeah,
we can wear this, and we could pull it off and look damn good.
The confidence
and be the best looking one in the room. On top of that,
hell yeah, yeah. So that's why I think like that was such a powerful moment. And it's like, and again, and that's why fashion is so powerful in that way. Is it's all about imagining, right? Like, oh, I can't see myself wearing that, but then, oh, wait a minute, I do see someone that looks just like me wearing that, and he's rocking the hell out of it, changing my perspective. And also, him doing that changes other people's perspective on Asians as well.
Right. I really believe fashion is important. I know that there's a whole nother culture shift that looks at it as a waste of energy, right? They said, I have like 50 black t-shirts or 50 white t-shirts, all of the same, and blue jeans, and this is what I do to maximize my productivity and efficiency, so that I don't have to waste energy. I think Steve Jobs was big on that, right? I don't have to waste Mark Zuckerberg. I don't have to the tech folks.
They have the uniform,
right, and that is their uniform, the t-shirt, hoodie, and jeans, right? And it's to maximize productivity and efficiency, so that they don't have to think about what to put on before they leave the house. What do you think about that?
I think it's right for their case, for what they're doing, as a CEO of a tech company. It makes sense because that is the culture you're in. So it depends on where you are. So that's why I think fashion, like, I'm never going to force someone to wear something they don't feel comfortable in, to recommend something that they're like, I'm not going to recommend a suit for any guy just because, if there's no point of it. So I think fashion, it depends on what you need, why you need it, like where you're wearing it to. Like for me, I have all these different outfits because I want to relate to the everyday guy as well, that they can just look nice without wearing a suit. But then also I have all these bigger brand events and fancier things that I do need to dress up and fit in those rooms. And also, again, it's also showing guys like, hey, you could rock this too if you ever choose to.
On the other side of that, I think a lot of guys are a bit hesitant to dress nice. Number one, because they don't know.
I feel that. I feel this.
Right. Number one, perhaps because they don't know what to put together. They may not be confident in that fit. Right. Or number two, they're afraid to stand out. They're, for whatever reason, they're afraid of success, of maximizing their potential. Is that fair?
Damn, that's deep.
It has to, because I think it does go deep, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a confidence. It may be a unconscious decision that they're making, right? Without fully being aware of it. But when you dig deeper, it may be because of that. Could it not?
When I look at fashion, I feel overwhelming kind of, it's work. It's a lot of work to look good when you go out there. But then I also, when I go to events, I do want to look good. I actually want to stand out.
Yeah.
So I do see like that dichotomy, and I don't know. I feel like I have two personalities. One, it's like I do want to stand out. I do want to look good. I do want to, get the, oh man, I love that suit you're rocking. But I also have the mindset of like, do I really want to stand out? So I don't know if it's a confidence thing or it's the way I was brought up. Maybe it was the way I was brought up, because don't stand out, because I come from, more of a frugal kind of culture and a very laid back kind of culture. So
very Eastern philosophy.
Yeah. So don't
the nail that stands out.
Yeah. Gets the hammer. So don't stand out. So I don't know. Am I mentally fighting that every day, every single day that I go out?
I think that's it.
That's a big part.
I think that's it. And this is like, we never had a conversation about that.
No.
And I mean, no pun intended, but I think I hit the nail right in the, it's, and the reason I can relate to it, because I have a lot of friends like that, and I'm going, and a lot of men, okay, and I'm looking at them like, God damn, like, you don't give yourself enough credit. Like you see some of the friends that we had, and when I first met them, they thought very low of themselves. And I think I kind of injected a lot of, like, I was like their battery pack. I was like a fan of theirs, going, dude, man, you got this, you could do this. Or we're about to go out to a party. This was back in the day before I was married. But we're about to go to a party, and I'm just like, I look at them like, nah, I got you, man. We're going to do something else with that.
Right.
Or, hey, they were shy to talk to girls at the party. And I was like, Oh no, come here, come with me. We'll get a call. I get him a few drinks at the bar, let him loosen up.
You're like the best wingman.
Yeah, get a good conversation with him going, so he gets, he's used to explaining something to me. He's used to moving his mouth, so he's not
warmed up.
Yeah, he's not all cold when he gets in a dialogue with a girl.
Right.
And as he's doing that, once I feel like, he's in the zone, we'll jump right in and we'll see we'll see a girl that he likes or something. We'll go up nice and we'll just start talking to them and have a nice dialogue. And all of a sudden, they get to see him open up for who he is. And I didn't really do anything but open him up, allow him to share himself with other people.
It's a lot of that in the beginning is the awkward part, like the cold, like you don't know how to open, you don't know how to start. But like once you to have a normal conversation, like a lot of us are normal, like we can talk and have conversations and topics.
Yeah, there's beauty in people. In a lot of people that I see, I like to look at the glass half full and I like to see the beauty in them. And I'm going, you have so much you can share with other people, whether it's fun, knowledge, or just something that or you're an expert about, but you don't for whatever reason, right?
Yeah.
Just like Norm, he's like, he doesn't maximize his potential because he don't know. He's not sure if that would hurt him, right? He's not sure if him standing out is a good thing. And another thing, if you stand out, other people can perhaps get jealous, right?
Yeah. I mean, I just think like...
They can say mean things about you. And now you're just like, am I turning people off? Am I unconsciously intimidating other people when I walk into a room when that's not my intention?
Right. That's true. I think like, number one, it is a big part, I think, growing up in the Asian community with our Asian parents. Because as Asian community as a whole, we're always just like, all right, like, be, just fit in, like, be in the background, just like, do your thing, don't stand out, like, don't draw attention to yourself, don't be loud, like, all of those things. But like, in my experience, in what I do as a fashion influencer, like these events I go to, I already kind of know I'm the only Asian there, and I already know, like why I'm there. So I need to, like, not only like be in my personal brand, like my image, but like I also need to stand out. Like I need to show them that no, like I'm better than how I look on Instagram. Like I have more personality and more things I can talk about in person. And so like in a lot of events, there's only so much you can stand out to a certain point. Then you're like, all right, you're like peacocking, you're really drawing attention, but you can still look different in like a different color suit. But that's enough.
But what you found your lane. You found how to maximize your potential. In our last podcast together, when I first met you, you showed me photos of you and how you used to look when you were in a 9-to-5 job and you weren't out living the dream life you are now. And I say that quite literally because you told me this is what you want to do. And everything was but design. It was all purposeful decisions to lead to where you are now, to get out of that corporate grind, because that wasn't for you.
Right.
And you showed me photos of yourself and you had these short spiky hair, I remember, even coming out on the sides. You were a bit chubbier. You look like two different people, to be quite frank.
Yeah, you can easily say that.
And I say that with full respect.
I realize like how important it is, fashion, that first impression, like that confidence when you meet people. So I try to learn more and more about fashion and menswear and suits. And then like, how do you wear it? How is it supposed to fit? The basic stuff. So once I learned that, then it's like, okay, what's next? Like, well, next, I want to travel more and I can have more things that I can talk about with people, that I can share, stories. And then what's next? Next it's like, well, like I know how to dress well, but what about watches? Like, do I need a better watch? Like, then I'm learning about watches. Like, I'm just constantly learning.
But here's what I want to know. What was the trigger? What was the catalyst? Because it wasn't like I grew up and I always had a sense for fashion. Yeah. Right? It wasn't that. It was, you look like a nerd, right? You look like very straight-laced person. And then somewhere along the line, something in your head went, you know what? No, I want to reinvent myself and become Leo.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
So what was that? Did you get cheated on?
The transformation.
Did you get like one of your friends got a girl that you wanted? Like, because it's usually that. Usually when I see men transform, it's because they want women, they're tired of being left behind, or they got cheated on.
No, that did not happen to me. Honestly, it's really just been a gradual progression.
It could go in the other way, where they got a girlfriend and maybe she was your battery pack and she opened you up and said, hey, I think you'd be really handsome with this haircut. I think you'd be really handsome if you went down a size. I think you'd be really handsome if you maybe had a salad once in a while and went to the gym.
No, it's just, I think as Asians, we're always comparing ourselves with each other. So I think the more I went into the Western world, like I think growing up was just with a lot of Asian immigrants. And then as I go to college, then I go to my jobs, I'm really the only Asian around. And now, to be honest, I feel like I'm just comparing myself to everyone else. Like I'm not just comparing myself to another Asian person. Like how can I get myself to be comparable to, say, a white coworker, Well, you look in the magazines, right? Like you didn't see Asian guys in magazines or movies. So you're like, okay, it's always these white dudes. Like, what is it that they have that I don't? So how can I elevate myself to this beauty standard that America has? But also gradually, like I said, like I was just really learning about fashion and how that, it's all trial and error. So you're like, you put on a nice suit and you're getting good compliments. People treat you differently. You're like, wait a minute, this works. So then you do it again next time. And then you're like, wait, how can I stand out even more with this suit? Like this suit fits great, but like now next time I can wear a pattern suit, a different color, and then boom, boom, boom. Every time you're getting more and more success. And then over time, you're like, this is my personal style.
You want to have the same respect when you walk into a room without having to like just being overlooked all the time.
Yeah.
Is that what I'm?
No, that's definitely a big part of it.
I know there's so many Asians where they feel like successful Asians, academically off the charts, and they're tall or they're handsome or whatever, even if they're not tall, but they hold their own in some form, but they still walk into a room and go, how do I become adjacent somehow? How do I become an equal? How do I do this without looking like I'm peacocking, without working extra hard in order to attain the status? And it's not even just for white people. Like I've seen Asians seeing if they can be looked fairly with black people as well, with Hispanic people. It's just depending where they're trying to get in. Like for example, I play basketball, right? And I did boxing when I was a kid. And all the Asian people now that I see coming up, and I have this conversation with them, they tell me, man, I'm tired of being overlooked, or people saying some wild things to me while I'm playing the court or while I'm in a fight. They don't like the way they're initially being viewed as, and they always feel like they have something to prove.
That's part of society. Like this is the culture you want to fit in. These are the rooms you want to be in. And so if you are the only Asian in that room, you're gonna have to do things to fit in and to adjust, right? Like,
so does that make us never really like insiders? We're always outside trying to get a seat at the table?
I mean, I think part of that is the Asian.
Is that the reality that a lot of people face?
In essence. But I think that's changing as more rooms are becoming more diverse. But it starts with somebody, and it starts with somebody to get into those rooms. Like you could be the only Asian in that group of, Black, Hispanic crowd playing basketball. You could be in a room where it's mostly about hip hop and certain fashion,
corporate America.
But that's why I love about fashion is that like you can see me at the red carpet for Batman, and you're also gonna see me at NBA All-Star Weekend in Cleveland, because I love both things and I know how to dress accordingly to both things. I'm not gonna wear a suit at the NBA All-Star Weekend. It doesn't make any sense. You go to NBA All-Star Weekend, you're wearing your sneakers, your off-white Nike sneakers. You're wearing your best streetwear stuff.
Right. You're not gonna wear your Kobe jersey to Batman.
Exactly. So that's how like fashion, like you dress accordingly to the crowd.
Good teaching moments for people that may not be used to that diversity or may have that initial unconscious bias towards certain people. And then when they walk in, like, oh, he's tall, he's fashionable, he actually kind of cool to talk with.
Yeah, I feel like at these things you're really changing people's perspective, because like they don't really see Asians in many circles, or
well, at least not in those events.
At least, yeah.
Yeah.
And so like to see an Asian not only attend and be there, but also dress to the part and like fit in, but also with confidence. That's like, that really speaks volume to like, oh no, he belongs. Like he is part of this thing. Like he's not just some outsider walking in.
And then for someone to actually shake things up or change anything, you have to actually be in the room to do so, right?
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, you want to change things up, but how can you do that when, you're outside of that room from all these people that are tastemakers or trendsetters, right? You have to be in the room first. So it is important for us to understand, like, we're overlooked because we're not in the room. And that's the most important part. Once we get in there, we could change shit up. We could change that perspective of who we are. Generally,
we're not trained in that direction. Where when we're young, well, what is the big emphasis? To get A's, to succeed in school, to culturally,
academics and
it's
intellectual,
and then
stability,
get a really good job after school. Whether it's a doctor, lawyer, engineer, something that just blows it out and has job security no matter what the market is.
Right.
And how many of those people would have been great fashion designers, great MMA fighters, great basketball, football players, right? Or baseball. I mean, because if you look at baseball right now, who's the best baseball player?
Yeah. It's insane. It's like by far too. Like he's
not even close.
Breaking records. That's like insane. And I think that's where like it's funny. Like your relationship with fashion is so different from mine. Like like what you're kind of getting deeper at too is like, what also clicked was that like I realized I can use fashion as like my weapon, as my shield, as my advantage. Like once I realized like, oh, all it took is this jacket to make me get into this room. And
can a jacket really do that?
And then I can go into these other rooms. Or like once you realize how powerful certain like fashion is, it's like, oh, like how powerful a suit is, or like by wearing certain brands, these are more global appealing brands.
Now explain that. A lot of people listening may go, what is he talking? How does a jacket get me in a room?
Yeah, so it's just like, having a piece that people talk about, or having a piece that people appreciate and understand. Because fashion is, when you get very deep into it, is that art, right? Like, oh, you're wearing an off-white piece. And if someone else in that room loves off-white, or someone else in the room loves like Saint Laurent, they know what you're wearing. So by you wearing that, you already have something in common. And so you can say that in other rooms about watches, about cars, about traveling. Like the fact that you can talk about certain places you've been to, that means you have a shared interest, a shared passion, and you can go from there. So like it could be as simple as that, but obviously it's over time that it built. And I think that's another turning point where it's like, oh wow, like I just got to dress this way to give me more success, to open more doors. And it's like, okay, that's a no-brainer. I can do that again. I can use that as my advantage. And that's what keeps kind of clicking and open other doors. And at the same time too, brands appreciate that. Like brands and marketing agencies are like, we've never seen an Asian guy like this before. Like to dress like this, to fit in and be able to fit into these crowds and have no problem with that. They also love that. And there's also there's also like Asians behind brands. Like they start working in marketing. Say Bacardi is a great example. One of the marketing director.
Isn't that one of your sponsors?
Yeah. And so like she really opened the door because she, as someone who works behind the scenes, it's like, wait, like we should have more diversity in our influencer crowd. And so she invited me to do these things, and I'm the only Asian on the Bacardi influencer roster. And
I saw you guys had like a trip to Puerto Rico or something.
Yeah, so we did that recently, and that was really fun. And it's nice to see that kind of diversity. Like, brands can be like, oh, diversity, but then like in person, like, wait, no, this is a very diverse crowd. We have everybody from every kind of race here, and so like they really speak to that. But like the importance of someone also working behind the brand, the desk job, doing the marketing job, and saw the need, and then having to fill that void. And then, like, for example, Bacardi has always been like a party drink, right? Like, you go to festivals, you go have a nice
rum and coke or something. Yeah.
Pina colada. But they also have a premium rum. So there's more like premium stuff. And so like that's where I come in more and talk about like the luxury part of the brand. At the same time, it's such a party drink, but the way I'm drinking Bacardi, I'm drinking it with my dad. I'm drinking it to celebrate Chinese New Year.
Yeah.
And so like that's where you really bring in diversity and bring in that kind of difference in content.
It's weird because usually with Asians, the drink is cognac, like at weddings and
Hennessy,
all this, the Hennessy and the XO, right? The Remy, the Remy Martin.
And so like to have the social media as that tool and to have that kind of voice to be like, why can't Asians drink premium rum? Why can't Asians have wines or like anything?
Yeah, why can't we have nice tequila? I'm a tequila drinker. I love tequila.
There you go. Like anything, like why not? And so in a way, it's like once you get over the first like, oh man, like
the hesitation.
So is that the catalyst? Just circling back because where Norm's at, right? Norm's going.
Yeah.
Maybe it's unconscious bias. Maybe I'm afraid to stand out. But what was difference? Like you were at where Norm is now, at one point in your life, right? And that's not a knock on you, Norm. It's just
no, man.
Right? But
I'm the center of attention right now.
I'm sorry, Norm. but you kind of brought it up for
opened up
yourself.
the doors.
So
yeah, of course.
And we're close enough to know that I'm not trying to rip on you or rip on Leo, however you guys want to take it. But you were where Norm was at once, and it sounds to me what clicked for you was you asked yourself, why not?
Yeah.
Right? Why not me?
Why not me?
Yeah.
Why can't I have luxury? Why can't I be the best version of me without fear of what other people think? Because I can't control that, right?
Yeah.
That's uncontrollable. If you feel insecure about yourself or you just don't like me because I look this way, that's your problem, not mine. It sounds like you kind of had that revelation, whereas Norm's just kind of like, yeah, I don't want to offend, or maybe I just don't want to stand out like that. I don't know if that's particularly a good thing, or maybe that's taking up too much energy and my why not is not strong enough for me to kind of get over that hump. So I'm really comfortable here. And I'm just going to stay here, and that works for me, so I'm okay because I'm already happy, right? Is that fair, Norm?
Yeah.
And I'm kind of putting words in your mouth.
No. I also think that there's a lot of people who at one time or another were in my position, and I saw the other half. Like when I dress up, I wore like a fancy red suit, and I walked into the room. People gave me compliments all night.
Oh, yeah.
And I know how that feels. I see the other side. It's just, sometimes it's just that, do I really want to stand out in these certain moments, right?
Right.
So
in what I do, like you almost just have to stand out. Like you already stand out as
you're
anyway.
an influencer.
Yeah. And so that's why it's like, but I think like maybe even like the first, like say when I was starting out, it's more just like menswear. But I think at a certain point it's like, okay, like I need to stand out even more from the other influencers, other people in that crowd.
Well, I'm just interested in, was that mentality there when you were working in corporate, like just standing out as I want to say a commoner, but just like you're just an everyday person now. You're standing out in work, or you're standing out in your
average
daily
guy.
life.
He
the
was
average guy.
I was already like the best dressed guy in the office.
Yeah,
and that was standing out for good and bad. Like it's good because then it's like, oh, like this guy, why is he so well dressed? But like he's serious about his job. But then on the other side, it's like, I don't know. Like the more I was working in my job, I'm like, I don't want to go any further. I don't want to be a manager because it's just a little bit more pay for a lot more work. And
for a little bit more pay.
Yeah, for a little bit more pay, but a lot more work. Like, because then now you're like, you're not 9 to 5. You're like, you're supposed to be an hour early, an hour later. Like,
first one there, last one to leave.
And it's like, no, I don't think I want that for 20,000 more. I don't think so. And it's funny, like I just think like about fashion, like the first time we did like a work conference thing that was like outside of the office, and they had other people from the other office come. People mistook me for my manager because there was only like 2 other Asian guys in the office, and a lot of times you just email with each other, and they just assumed I was my manager because I was like more well dressed.
It's funny when I'm with my non-Asian coworkers, and let's say I am a level above them or we're equals,
Yeah.
the comment I would get was they would think that I work for them. Other people outside the bubble
Yeah.
that's looking at, whether it's some of my friends, like, oh, Will, for example, someone texts me, yo, I was just driving down 6th Avenue. I seen you with your boss.
That's part of changing perception, though. But
Right.
that is part of changing that.
And I could be the better dressed one, but because my ethnicity, I think whatever their unconscious bias is, they've been trained or programmed to think that Asian worker B, this person king B.
Yeah. They just assume you're not the boss. You're not the
Queen
manager.
B, sorry, yeah.
And so, like, but that's part of changing perception, like correcting that, and we're like, no, I'm the boss around. I'm the manager.
Even
here.
if I was with a female, and that's what I mean. Like this person worker B,
Yeah.
this person queen B. It's
Right.
because a couple of times I was with my female colleagues, and start addressing her like I work for her, and I'm like, oh no, I'm the person you talk to about this, and
Right.
then it's like, I don't do that with any insecurity because I'm aware of that perception,
Right.
But I also find it interesting that you say people thought you were the boss because the way you were dressed,
Yeah.
where I had a different experience even though I'm dressed,
Right.
right?
Yeah. But
And
like,
this was before any words can be, this is
Yeah.
just nonverbal communication.
I think that's the kind of like simple unconscious burden a lot of Asians have to carry. Like, why do I even have to deal with this conversation? Why do I even need to be perceived as the lower one? It's just something that we just all of us carry that.
Your question
Yeah.
going back to why not me? How come I can't hang with these people?
Right. And that's the crazy thing about social media. It's just like it's constantly changing. So even a year ago, it's like I didn't know these opportunities is possible for an influencer, or in these crowds. So as more little doors open, you're like, wait a minute. Oh, like I can do this. Oh, I can do that. Like my ceiling is higher and higher and higher.
Does the internal voice of doubt ever creep in? Like, Leo, you can't do this. Like, why are you doing it? You're not as good. You don't deserve this.
No, not anymore.
How did you mute that?
I think it's really just the
Like, oh, Leo, they're judging you if you post this. Hey, Leo, if you go here and you
Yeah.
dress like this there.
I think that's where
I guess I'm asking for someone, but
for some
how do you mute that voice?
I
of
think
doubt?
that's the years of experience that really like justify each one. Like,
So you mean like you actually have to put action and just do
yeah,
these
I
little
mean,
things
like
to
I'm
mute
sure
it?
at first I've had to deal with that, and it's like, who cares? Like it's one outfit, it's one night. Like who cares? Nobody really cares. Like,
But how about if you
care
post
about
something? You go, what if people
Yeah.
don't like it?
It's
Or
okay.
what if
It's-
people talk shit?
If I post something, you said,
Yeah, well, something like that. Let's
Yeah.
just simplify this, right?
It's okay.
Because
I
not
post
everyone
again-
gets to wear a
Right.
fancy red suit into a red
I think
carpet.
that's where I
but
bring in-
perhaps let's say posting something on social media.
yeah, I think that's where I bring in like the sports mentality. It's like I missed the shot. It's okay. I'm gonna take another shot tomorrow. I post every day. So if you didn't like this outfit, that's okay. Someone liked it. Like that's the thing, and I think that's the beauty of fashion too. It's like it's not supposed to be for everyone.
How do you even do that? Post every day. I'm sorry. I'm going
No,
sidetracked because
that's just full on content.
how do you do that?
Yeah. So
that is.
actually, it's easier now than ever.
How do you find the energy is what I'm talking about? Because it's not like you're just
Yeah.
posting a selfie.
it's not even physical
You
energy,
actually-
it's mental energy, I think.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Because like when I do go on social media and then I
Right.
see you on my feed, first of all, I always give it a like when I see it.
Thanks.
Second of all, if I see like, holy shit, this guy did the whole editing thing.
Yeah.
He put on like 80 different outfits,
Yeah.
and he made it look, he put music on it and it looks cool. And then I'm going, shit, that's a lot of work,
Yeah.
man. And then now you just told me you do that every day.
Yeah. So the video stuff, like the new stuff, like the TikTok and the Reels, that does take a lot more work. So I think as a content creator, the beauty for yourself is that you need to find the right balance of what works.
And you do it all yourself, or do you hire someone?
Well, I do it with my girlfriend. So
Okay.
we work on Levitate Style together full time. So we're able to delegate the task. Photos, like the photo shoots, the past 5, 6, 7 years, like we can do that in 5
It's
minutes.
become very easy for you
It's-
guys.
yeah, not to brag, but it's very easy. It's like over time, you know your angles, you know the lighting, you know where you want to shoot, you know all the money spots. So, and that's the beauty of it. You're supposed to get better at what you do. You're supposed to be a master at what you do.
So it gets easier.
It gets very easy. It's so easy. You know, if anyone wants to study my content, Tuesday, Thursdays, I try to do like travel posts, like throwbacks, because there's TBT, Throwback Thursday, there's Travel Tuesday, whatever, right? Those are really just like posts for my travels. So those are like easy, like, okay. And I even have a whole calendar of like, okay, I went to Morocco in May. I went to Sweden in April. So in those months, those outfits are usually within the same kind of weather. So when you're looking at May photos, it's going to be like more summer, more vacation vibes. If you're looking at April, March, it's more spring outfits. So it still has to make sense for the audience. So then I do my throwback posts. So that's why I do a lot of throwback, like, hey, I went to, this time last year, I went to Miami. This time last year, I went to Sweden. So it's like, it makes sense. So half my posts are kind of like recycled content, because a lot of the content is like evergreen, kind of like podcasts and videos, like it lives on forever because content is king. And so a lot of the photo content just, it's great. And then like, obviously you also want to shoot good content. So all the photos I've shot in Iceland and whatnot, like beautiful ones. So like I can easily reuse those. I don't need to like go back and re-edit thousands of photos. So that's number one. Two, the fashion stuff is like, again, over the years, all the fashion content, a lot of it can be recycled. So then it's really up to the new stuff. Okay, what do I really need to shoot that's new? So there's the sponsored posts, the deals that I do with brands that I obviously have to shoot brand new. And then now with the Reels and TikTok, the videos, that does take more work. So certain times of the week, I'll block out my time to just shoot that stuff at home. So that's where I try to.
And is it scripted or is it just like on a whim? Like, oh, this is a nice background. Maybe I'll shoot something here.
No, it's as scripted as possible. So the more you prepare, the easier it is. So you don't get on here and you're like, you know, where's the best lighting? Where's the background? Like, and then over time, the more you do it, the more you're
everything
like,
sounds like it's well thought out.
Yeah, but it takes time.
It's rarely that it's spontaneous.
Yeah, it takes a lot of time of practice. But once you get it down, like you can get it done so quick. And that's why like a good example is like living in this building. And living in a nice luxury building is a luxury, and it's also great because I shoot so much content in this building, especially when it was like pandemic and the brands like, oh, you don't need to go outside to shoot. I'm like, great. Like I've shot every single angle of like my lounge, my rooftop.
You got great views.
Like I've got all the different angles. Like I'm like, all right, good. Like I can get it all done here. So it's about maximizing my time, my effort.
You make it sound so simple. For someone like me, it's like just taking one selfie and posting it makes me feel like it's a lot of work.
What I'm saying is a lot of mental energy. And,
it is.
You know, I'm just hearing you speak about it. It seemed very quick, but then there's a lot of details within, you know.
But yeah, I mean, it's all over time of like, okay, this photo shoot took an hour. How can I get better at this? Okay, but then like the more you practice, like in sports, the more you get at it, you're like, yeah, I can make this jump shot in my sleep because you put in your 10,000 hours. So over time it's like before like easily an hour to shoot. Like the first time I shot in Dumbo Park took an hour because I'm like, where's the best angle? Where's the best lighting? Now I'm like, I know the exact money spot. I walk there, 5 minutes, I'm out of there because I've done the homework. And the same thing, like even when I travel to a new place, I've done homework on Pinterest, on Instagram, do my research on YouTube. So I know where am I going in Paris? Oh, the Eiffel Tower. Okay, but where's the spot to shoot it?
Right.
Oh, well, there's like 5 different spots you can go.
I didn't know, but in Hollywood, to get the optimal Hollywood sign in the background, it's not even in a section where all the tourists go. It's actually like down a road or something, or up a road, and it has in an isolated area.
Yeah, it's like a little park thing.
Yeah.
It's,
there's a lot of
research.
Yeah,
but once you've done the research in real life, it's super easy because you show up and you're like, all right, this is it. Yeah. All right, cool. Yeah. So that's why like it seems simple, but it can also be super complicated depending on how you shoot content. But for me, like when you talk about mental energy, for me, like that's why I truly love what I do. And I understand the essence of it. Like I understand like, okay, my audience is looking for a spring outfits. My audience is looking for this. My audience wants this. And this, for me, is like this.
How would a normal guy become a top tier person?
Influencer?
Not
Just-
an influencer,
Oh, just
a better
personally,
version of
a better
yours,
version,
yeah.
the top tier version of themselves. For example, let's just say if I'm grading myself, let's say I'm just an average guy. So what's average grade? C? Is that fair? C plus?
Yeah.
So let's just say if we're doing on a grading Asian grading system.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's like super C plus. I'm like, yo, you failed, bro.
Actually, it's not even middle average. It's like below
see
average.
the disappointment in your face. Yeah,
Like C is below average.
right away I
for
saw
Asian
Leo
grading
like,
system.
oh,
C plus.
you know, but
Ugh. We don't do C's here, you know, only A's, bro. Okay.
so let's say that, right? And I'm a C plus guy, but I have a potential
Yeah.
to be an A. It's not that
Yeah.
I don't, but I don't have the resources, or at least I think I have these self-limiting thoughts. So how do I get there as a C plus average guy? If I'm grading myself as an average guy, how do I become a top tier man?
Yeah, I got you. Number one is definitely fashion. Learning how to dress for the right occasion. So when you're going to a movie date, to a museum date, to going to the club, going to a nice dinner, dressing right for different occasion, that's a big part. Two, like fitness is such an important thing. I think it's such an important foundation in general, because it's only gonna get harder as you get older. So you need to start younger. And it's not just fitness, it's a healthy lifestyle, like learning how to cook healthy, learning how to eat healthy, like get used to drinking a gallon of water, get used to eating your fruits and vegetables, so that it's not like, oh my God, I gotta do this. No, like it should just be that's what your body
Part
needs.
of your daily lifestyle.
Yeah. I think another big mindset change is you need to figure out your wants and your needs. You don't need to go out every weekend. You want to.
That's a big one.
You don't need to spend money on certain things. You want to. But what do you really want in life? Like, life is short. Life can be so short. So don't think, okay, I'm going to retire, I'm going to travel. Like, to me, I think the earlier you travel, the better. But don't spend all your money on it. You know, you can still do Airbnb and like, you know, do budget travel. But like, I think once you see the world more, it opens up your perspective, and this opens up conversations. Because I think
Is that the mindset? Is that part of the mindset change?
that's a big part. Because like, if we don't connect on fashion, I think we can talk about travel.
Yeah.
I want to travel. I'm sure everybody wants to travel somewhere, or you've been somewhere that I probably have never been to. So we have something that we can relate and we can like connect.
Right.
You know, even if we don't connect on other stuff, and then, you know, or if we've been to the same place and it's like, oh, wait a second, like you didn't like this or you like that. So like, that's already a whole conversation.
Hey, that's exactly it. Because like I had a friend that I played basketball with, right? But outside of basketball, we could never connect. And then I was going to Barcelona, and he all of a sudden, because he's an introvert, and all of a sudden this guy lit up with extreme energy because he lived in Barcelona for 5 years.
Oh, wow.
And all of a sudden he goes, you got to go here, you got to go here. And then all of a sudden we connected, and then we became pretty good friends, because once he opened up, it just it leaked into other areas, and then he didn't feel, I guess, as closed off or as walled off as he should be with me or anyone else, and we ended up actually becoming pretty good friends.
Travels really break barriers. Like, even as recently as like a few days ago, I was at a hockey game at an event, but there were also like brand executives and like owners were there, and they invited like a handful of influencers there. And that was a very like I'm constantly learning. So it's like a very learning moment where like, wow, you guys were great because like you guys hit it off with the brand executives, because all the other influencers just came in, took a photo, and they like went to the game. Like they didn't like mingle, but like you guys talked to the brand people, and like once they saw like, oh wow, like they saw on my profile, oh wow, you travel a lot. I was like, yeah, I go to Europe all the time. Little did I know, the brand executive was like the global PR director, and she's from Italy. So then we're talking about Italy. We're talking about, oh yeah, we love this, we love that. And like, if you share the love of someone else, of their country, like I'm from Hong Kong, right? So if you're like, yo, I love Hong Kong, I'm like, all right, let's talk, right? Yeah. We're talking about Asia. And that's another one. I was at the Tumi event, and like the creative director travels to Asia a lot for work. And like his creative team, his design team is like all Asian. So we hit it off talking about Asia and travels and like the culture. And that's the beauty about that. Like you can share the culture, the world, and have that diverse
Okay,
connection.
so 3 things to recap.
Yeah.
We have fashion, style, wear clothes that fit, and exercise, eat healthy.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a basic foundation for anyone in life. And the third thing
was like wants and
travel.
needs. I think like travel, but like the big picture is like what your wants and needs are. So I think a lot of people think about money is a problem, right? Like, oh, I want to start a side business, but like I'm going out drinking every weekend, or like, oh, I want to change my career, but I'm watching Netflix every night. So it's like, dude, life is short. What do you want?
So have your action match
Your action 100% needs to match what your wants are, because it's not just gonna come. Like I didn't start Levitate
You're not going to
Style.
get a 6-pack watching Netflix.
Exactly. Yeah, you can
Get a different type of 6-pack.
You can read about push-ups all you want. You can watch YouTube videos about how to work out, but it won't matter until you do one and you start it. But that's the thing. It's like a lot of people are just like, maybe they're so burdened by their 9 to 5 that they have to spend their weekends drinking, or like spend all their money going to fancy restaurants. Like if you watch my stories, like unless it's a brand thing, like I don't really go out to fancy places. Like I like to spend my money traveling.
You get your best ROI on that.
Yeah, I get the best bang for my buck. Like that's how I like to live, you know. And like when I go on vacations, I'm not going to a resort and drink all 5 days and lay on the beach. That's not my style.
But it sounds like you spend a lot of money on fashion, on clothes.
Yes and no. Like a lot of my fashion is from brand deals and they gift me stuff, and then the other half is stuff that I want to elevate myself. Like I'm still elevating to the next thing. Like, you know, how can I get more Gucci or Prada, and like how can I elevate my personal style? That pieces that I really, really love for myself.
A lot of people would look at that as like a waste of money, right? Why would you spend $600 on a sweater?
Right.
Why would you spend $2,000 on a bag? Why would you spend $1,000 on sneakers?
Hey, I think we all spend our money in different ways. And at the end of the day, if it brings you joy, if it brings you things that you want and need, my defense as always is that it's my job.
Hey, that's what a lot of models and influencers tell me, that it's part of their costume.
And it elevates my personal image, it elevates my personal brand. And that is how I go from, you know, you have to remember, like influencer when we first started, it was all influencers that worked with H&M and fast fashion brands. We all started at that bottom part. There's only so much that can really evaluate and bring themselves up to the next level, where you're now working with Saks and Bloomingdale's and Nordstrom and like luxury retail brands like Farfetch. Like there's only so many, like luxury gets very picky. There's only so many that fits the right image, the style, and again, tick off a diversity check maybe, you know. So as one of the few Asian guys to also be able to do both. Now it's like, oh, this guy's approachable. He posts outfits that's H&M and Zara and Express, but also when he's going to fancy things, he's wearing this. So I can relate to both.
How is that fashion world for the Asian man? How's that market? Because back then I heard it was very thin. There was only a couple of seats for those guys.
I mean, I think it's still very small. I think but it also is like, you know, even if the brand side is going to be more open to having more seats for Asians, how many Asians have taken the jump to get into that creative side, to put themselves out there, right? There's only so many Asian creators as well, and there's only so many brands that, you know, so it needs to be a two-way street. And it's not like brands are just going to plug any Asian influencer. Like, for example, Fung Bros, they are very much street style, culture, basketball. They might not fit in the same rooms that I go to. Also, at the same time, I might not fit in the same rooms they go to, right? So, like, the more Asian creators are out there and more specialized and more great niche at their niche, the more brands are going to align. You know, brands are spending money and budgets and stuff. They also have to make sense why they invite certain people, like, and to have, you know, you don't just, I'm just going to pick these guys for the diversity's sake. No, like it has to make sense as well. Right. So I think like as more Asian are going into the creative side, then we can connect with the right brands. And even then, there's still not that many Asians influencer side of things.
Is it because not enough of us go into that world? Or is it because there aren't enough opportunities available for people to go into that world?
I mean, I think it's...
Or is it a little bit of both?
It's definitely both. I think that number one is there were no opportunities, so we're already deterred from the outside, right? It's kind of like a door, right? Like, oh, no Asians, like, I'm not going to go in. But like, as you realize, like, oh no, like there's actually these other smaller doors that you can start going into, and then you can then... so I think like that's why I hope my content is not just fashion, or like, that's why my purpose of my content is not like, hey, look at me, look at me. It's like, no, look at what I'm wearing, look at what I'm doing. Like, I hope that inspires you to do more. If it's travel that speaks to you, if it's the outfit that speaks to you, if it's the opportunities, the brands that I work with that speaks to you, I hope that inspires you to do something about it. We don't have to be at the 9-to-5 jobs. Like, the world has changed so much.
Lucky Boys Podcast.